I never imagined that one day I would be sitting here speaking to strangers on the internet, telling them the story of my life. For years, I stayed silent because silence was easier than admitting the truth. The truth that the people who were supposed to protect me were the ones who pushed me into the darkest chapter of my life. My name doesn't matter. My face doesn't matter. What matters is my story. My parents married me to an alcoholic, not because I loved him, not because I chose him, but because they believed I would adjust. I grew up believing that being a good daughter meant obedience. In my home, love was quiet. Questions were discouraged and dreams were optional, especially for a girl. I was taught that parents always know what's best, that elders are never wrong, and that a daughter's happiness comes after everyone else's comfort. So when I turned 22 and my parents started talking about marriage, I didn't argue, I listened. They showed me his picture. They told me he had a stable job, a respectable family, and then, casually, almost like it wasn't important, they added he drinks but not too much. I remember the tight feeling in my chest. I remember asking softly, what if he doesn't stop after marriage? My mother smiled and said, all men drink. Marriage fixes these habits. My father said, we know better than you. Trust us. And just like that, my fear was dismissed. Relatives got involved. Aunts, uncles, family, friends. Everyone had advice. No one listened. Good proposals don't come twice. Girls shouldn't be too picky. You'll learn with time. And every time I tried to speak, I was reminded of how much my parents had done for me. I didn't want to be ungrateful, so I said yes. My wedding was beautiful. At least that's what everyone said. Lights, music, smiles. People congratulated my parents. They told me how lucky I was. But inside, I felt like I was walking towards something unknown and dangerous. That night, my husband came to me drunk. The smell of alcohol filled the room. His words were slurred, his eyes unfocused. I sat quietly, frozen. That was the first night I realized this marriage would not save him. It would destroy me. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Every promise sounded the same. I'll stop. Just one last time, I'm trying. But the bottles never disappeared, only multiplied. Some nights he didn't come home. Some nights he came home angry. Some nights, silent. Learned to read his footsteps, to measure his mood by the sound of his voice. Stopped sleeping peacefully. I stopped laughing freely. I became careful, quiet, invisible. People think abuse is always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. He didn't hit me, but he ignored me. He dismissed me. He made me feel small. I felt married, but alone. At family gatherings, I smiled. At home, I cried one night. After he passed out drunk on the couch, I called my mother. My voice was shaking. I told her everything. She listened and then said, be patient. Marriage is not easy. What will people say if you come back? I called my father. He said, this is your life now. Learn to handle it. That was the night I realized I had no safe place to return to. I stopped recognizing the woman in the mirror, the girl who once had opinions. Dream hope she was gone. In her place stood a woman who apologized too much, who blamed herself, who wondered if she deserved this life. I wasn't living, I was surviving. One evening, he came home extremely drunk. He looked at me and said, you ruined my life. Those words stayed with me that night. I didn't cry, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, asking myself one question. If I stay silent forever, will anything change? The next morning, I looked at myself and whispered, I can't keep disappearing. I didn't leave immediately. I didn't suddenly become strong, but something shifted. I stopped believing that suffering was my destiny. Stopped believing that silence was my duty. Started listening to myself. For the first time, people tell women to adjust, but no one tells them how much adjustment costs. It costs your confidence, your voice, your identity. And once those are gone, finding your way back feels impossible. I'm telling you this because somewhere, there is a woman listening to me right now who feels exactly how I felt, alone, confused, afraid. Maybe you're wondering if things will get better. Maybe you're waiting for permission to choose yourself. I don't have all the answers. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm sharing my story. Because I need your advice. Tell me, what should I do now? How do I fix my life after being broken for so long? Please tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to hear more of my stories, if you want to be part of my journey, please subscribe to this channel. Become part of my small family here. Be my friends, so I don't have to carry these stories alone anymore. Because I've been alone for too long, and maybe, together, we can heal. Even after I whispered those words, together we can heal, I realized healing wasn't instant. It didn't come with one night of courage or a single decision. Every morning, I still woke up feeling the weight of all those years, of promises broken, of dreams crushed. But now I began to notice small things, small victories. I started keeping a journal, writing down my thoughts, my fears, my hopes. At first, the pages were filled with sadness, confusion, and regret. But slowly, words of strength began to appear. I wrote, "I am allowed to be happy. I am allowed to choose myself. I deserve peace." I began to take small steps, not huge leaps, just small things that reminded me I still existed outside the shadow of my marriage. I took walks in the morning. I started noticing the world again. The sun, the birds, the air on my skin. I began reconnecting with old friends I had lost touch with, people who reminded me that life wasn't just about surviving. Some days were harder than others. Some nights I would cry myself to sleep. But slowly, I learned that crying didn't make me weak. It made me human. One evening, I decided I had to confront my husband, not to argue, not to fight, but to assert myself. I told him calmly, "I am tired of feeling invisible. I am tired of surviving alone while living with you. I cannot continue like this." He didn't react well at first, but something had shifted inside me. For the first time, I was not afraid of his anger. I realized that standing up for myself didn't mean I hated him. It meant I loved myself enough to survive. From that day, I started making small choices that were mine alone. I chose what to eat. I chose when to sleep. I chose when to smile. I began reclaiming pieces of myself that had been buried under years of fear and silence. I started telling myself daily, "You are more than what has happened to you. You are more than what they told you to be." Hope came slowly. It wasn't a sudden flood, it was a trickle. One afternoon, I saw a woman in the park with her daughter. They laughed, really laughed, and something inside me stirred. I whispered to myself, "That can be me again. I can feel that joy again. It's not too late." And for the first time in years, I believed it. I didn't need everyone to understand me. I didn't need my parents' approval anymore. I didn't need the world to validate my choices. Needed only one thing, to choose myself every single day. I started learning small skills, reading books that inspired me, and even thinking about my future in ways I never had before. I realized that freedom is built one decision at a time, not in one big leap, but in the small choices that define your life. Now, as I sit here sharing this with you, I feel stronger but not fully healed. The journey is ongoing, but I am no longer alone in it. I am learning to forgive myself. I am learning to dream again, and I am learning that my life is mine to live. If you are listening to this right now and feel trapped, lonely, or scared, know this: you are not alone. There is hope. You are allowed to take small steps, one at a time. And just like before, I want to hear from you. Tell me, what would you do in my place? How do you think I can continue building my life after years of silence and survival? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to continue this journey with me, if you want to be part of my story, please subscribe. Let's be a small family here, where we can share, heal, and grow together. Because I've learned something important. Healing is not a destination, it's a journey, and it's ours to take together.